Hello, welcome to That Cosmic Synchronicity. Before I even get started today, and this might be a long one, you guys, I just wanted to express my gratitude for the quantum jump that I have experienced lately. It's been my Saturn return for one, but I have completely shifted in my life. I have my new apartment. Okay, all right. I'm not going to show you guys too much because it's not fully set up yet. But I got my Christmas lights up and I have this adorable little puzzle going because I'm trying to get more into what they call analog hobbies now that I've moved. And I love it. I'm vibing. I'm having a great time. And so because of that, I get to tell you guys another story today. And this one, like I said, there's a lot of parts to it. Check out my bookshelf. It's going great. The story I'm going to tell today has many parts. So I'm just going to burn some sage real quick before we get started. And I did record this already. I'll just point that out. Before I moved, and the context of that recording was a little bit different because I hadn't moved yet, because I was going through a couple other things at the time, and I didn't find clarity in this story until like this morning. So hopefully my words come through and I say the message that I meant to say today. So the story starts when I first had my spiritual awakening. I was 18, I was a freshman in college, and before then I was a self-proclaimed Jesus freak. I was heavily involved in my youth group. I had gotten into meditation and astrology as well, but to me those things were just part of the spiritual journey of connecting to God through Jesus. Okay. I turned 18, I moved out, I went to college, I started learning about other things in the world, and I had asked God for clarity because I was like, I just feel like there are so many things within Christianity that I don't agree with, and I would just like some clarity about that, right? And essentially, I ended up leaving Christianity for a little bit. I had kind of had this understanding throughout a few months before the event I'm going to speak of in a moment. I had this understanding of religion isn't necessarily the correct path. It can be a useful tool to gain understanding, but it's not necessarily 100% truth, okay? Just because religions have their own intention, have their own agenda, okay? And specifically, just like I started learning about the issues within the Christian church and the Catholic church and everything. So I started getting into mysticism, to the occult. I started dabbling in witchcraft, and I thought I was doing great. I thought I was doing really good. There was one night where my college was putting on the Christmas choir concert, and I had a bunch of friends that were in choir, and my one friend, who was like my best friend at this point, I considered her my best friend, and we were gonna go together, okay? I had already been experimenting with substances. I was known as somebody that smoked weed around campus, okay? She had never done it before. So that night, we meet up to go to this choir concert, and she's like, Marissa, I'm super high. She had gotten high with this guy she was seeing or something. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever, we're gonna go to this choir concert, like, good for you, I guess. Like, I didn't think twice about it, okay? The only thing that was weird was that she was like super quiet the whole concert. Like, she didn't talk. She would just like sat there vibing out, right? And I was like, that's fine. Like, she's never been high before. Like, this isn't that weird, okay? And that was the thing. Like, she had never been high before. So we go to the choir concert. Everything's fine. We were going to go out afterwards, go to parties or something, I think. And we left the concert and she was like, I have to go home. Like, I have to go home right now. I can't hang out anymore. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I totally get it. Okay. The first time I got high, I was an emotional mess too. Woke up the next morning to a text from her saying, hey, let's get breakfast. I have to tell you about last night. So I was like, tell me everything. Like, I want to know whatever happened last night, right? The drama. And we meet up over breakfast. And she tells me she spoke to God, that God spoke to her, that they had a whole conversation, and it happened during the choir concert because she got so high. She told me that in the lights and the sound of the music and the singing, it wasn't like words, but she realized, like, she had this understanding that God was saying things to her. Then she went back to her dorm and got in bed, whatever, and she typed out as much on her phone as she could because she wanted to try to make sure she remembered things. And she said that God told her to tell me everything that he was telling her. But I'm the only one that was supposed to know about it. I'm the only one that was supposed to listen. She said that God revealed to her the true spiritual nature of the world and that there's a spiritual warfare going on, that the angels and demons in heaven are battling right now. That was like the main thing. And then she said that God was able to answer any questions she had, and she asked him everything she could think of, and he had the answer. And she had this deep understanding of her purpose in life and all this other stuff. And she said that she had the choice to leave her body. She would die in her sleep, and that it would look like natural causes, but it would mean she would leave her family. She would leave this life, but it was like a choice. She could be here and witness the spiritual warfare on our plane and our existence, or she could leave if she wanted. And of course, she chose to stay. And yeah, so that was the story she told me, okay? I've thought about that for years. It was over a decade ago. I have not known what to do with this information. But everything comes out in perfect timing. Understanding will always come when you need it. So my next story happened about 7 years after that. I was 25. I was growing weed in my house, and I had gotten really sick. I had just met my partner, who is now my ex, and why I'm living here now. The one that I've talked about in most of my videos, right? Because I started this channel really like a year ago. This was when we had first met, and I had gotten really sick, and he was in my apartment to witness all of this. And I decided, because I wasn't feeling well and I just wanted to sleep and I needed to sleep, that I would take a big hit of marijuana from a bong. Okay, first of all, I don't know how to take bong hits. They're always way too strong and I always like get way too high. But I took the hit and then immediately started feeling not like nauseous, but like dizzy a little bit. So I stood up because I was in my kitchen, and I went and leaned against the wall next to my trash can because I thought maybe I would start to get nauseous, because I felt just weird. Like I had never felt like this before, right? And I was growing this weed. This was my weed. It wasn't like there was anything else in it, okay? I leaned against this trash can, not the trash can, the wall next to the trash can, and there's a window. And outside the window, there's a bush of, like, there's birds that are always in this bush. And from that day on, I ended up like going out and like saying hi to these birds every morning. It's like a whole thing. But in that moment, the sunlight was coming through the bush a certain way, and time stopped. And I spoke to God, and there were orbs of light. In the bush, there were 3 orbs of light coming from the sun. And my life literally flashed before my eyes. I literally saw my whole life, and I believe this was God I was speaking to. I say they because there's 3 lights. God showed me the purpose of the life I had been living so far. They told me I had completed a handful of missions that I was sent here for, and they were like just showing me unconditional love. Like, I've never felt unconditional love like that in my entire life, and it was just so pure and beautiful. And I ended up seeing a vision of a lot of destruction happening in the world, and a mountainside, an image of a mountainside, and there are girls playing. And at the time, I was trying to like get into communes and stuff. I was trying to go live in the woods, live on a mountainside. Like, I was looking to change my life at this point, and in a very like getting away from society kind of thing, right? So I saw this vision, and they were like, this is going to be a place you will be. You will be here if you choose to stay. They told me, you could leave right now if you want. It'll look like you got really sick, and you, I have epilepsy, so they were like, it'll look like you will have a seizure and die if you choose to leave your body right now. And they said, you've completed so many missions, you can rest now if you want. You can come join this unconditional love feeling, or you can stay. You can experience the warfare, the spiritual warfare going on, is what they told me, and the destruction it will cause the physical earth and the world. But if you choose to stay, once you get to this place where there's a mountainside and the forest and these girls, that was basically it. They didn't tell me what would happen. They just said, like, you'll know. Okay? So that was like it. And then they were like, any questions you have, we'll answer all your questions. It was basically exactly what they told my friend when I was 18. So I asked them a bunch of questions, got a bunch of answers, right? And I said, that feeling of unconditional love is so deep and true and pure, and I want that. But this life is temporary. This life is, I don't want to have to start over if I want to come back. And so I chose to stay. And they told me that the vision they showed me of the future is a gift that I have, and that I will be able to have the gift of prophecy. I'll be able to see visions like that all the time if I quit smoking weed. So it took me a few months, but I did quit smoking weed after that, like regularly. I still do on occasion, but it's not the same. That is why I quit smoking weed. People ask me nowadays, like, oh, like, and I say, yeah, I used to be really into that lifestyle, and I'm not anymore. It's not because I look down on people who smoke or anything like that. It's not like because I think it's bad. I think it's literal medicine. But it was a problem for me. Now, some of you may know that I have had a drinking problem the last few years. That was a direct result of me quitting marijuana, as I just replaced it with something else. And I was never problematic with it. I was never a destructive person about it. I just liked an alcoholic beverage every day for a few years. I am now basically sober. I have had a couple drinks in the last month, but not the way I used to, okay? And when I had first recorded this video, I was like on this mission of sobriety, and it changed everything because God revealed to me that I had to be sober for a certain amount of time. Okay, so that happened when I was 25, and I had just met my ex. I didn't know his family. I had never met anybody else in his life really at the time. 3 years later, I was 28. Yeah, I was 28. His family bought property in the Appalachian Mountains. I have a video I recorded there talking about escaping isn't the answer. The very first night we stayed there to visit, they have a cabin and stuff now, but the first night we stayed in a tent. His whole family was there. I got out of the tent in the morning and I saw his little sister and her friend running through the field that's next to the mountainside. And I was like, this is the image I saw in that vision. In the vision, I was seeing it from above, But it's like I could look at the sky right there and be like, that's where I saw the vision from. And this is it. This is the place. This is where I'm supposed to know what to do now. And I didn't, because of the spiritual warfare going on. I was too distracted. I was too caught up in what I thought I was supposed to be doing and what I thought was right, that I didn't see what God wanted for me. So my friend spoke to God and got told all these things. I spoke to God and got told all these things about 7 years after that. 7 years. I didn't even think about the number there. Part number 3 is last winter, I was driving to work after a snowstorm, and where I worked at the time was about 45 minutes from where I lived, and I like to take the back roads, and my car was not good to be driving in the snow necessarily, but I thought we would have a snow day, and we didn't. So I was going to work. The road I usually take is straight, but it's like hilly like that, and I was going under the speed limit, okay, but there was a hill. And as I started going down, I realized, I'm gonna start going really fast, and it's probably gonna be icy. At the bottom of this hill, there was a truck in the ditch, a white truck in the ditch, and 3 cars coming on my opposite side towards me in the opposite lane, right? And there was a big pile of snow at the bottom of the hill, because it's the back roads, they didn't plow those roads, so there was a big pile of snow, and I was like, I'm gonna slide into that and probably go in that ditch. The thing is, that day, I was thinking of this story that I'm trying to tell you guys. I was thinking of how those 2 stories connect and what that means in my life and what it's supposed to mean and what I'm supposed to tell you about it. And like I said earlier, I did not know, but I was talking to God the whole time. And this is when I first started reaching out to my angels. And as I'm talking to them, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm very much possibly going to spin out and end up in the ditch next to that truck, or possibly even hitting that truck. Luckily, I lived up north for a year where our winters were really, really bad, and it's not so bad around here. But I go down this hill, I start fishtailing, right? And the 3 cars coming this way, and there's a truck on that side, and I go right in between them, and then somehow I end up in the other lane. But the cars had passed, and I'm like, oh geez. And it happened so fast. I do not know how I missed any of those cars. I was losing control of my car. That's when I had the moment, a realization that you have angels protecting you. Because the 3 angels that I spoke to, I believe, the 3 orbs, I guess now I think they're angels. I don't really know, but there were 3 cars coming towards me that I should have hit, and I did not. There was 1 truck, so bigger than the cars, on the other side, and I believe that was Jesus. I believe since it was not too long after that I asked Jesus for help. I asked Jesus to come back in my life, and everything is different now. Yeah, it took me almost a year to put the pieces together and to make the change in my life, but it is because I have been connecting to Jesus Christ. And what I'm trying to say, what I'm realizing is the connection of all of this is that God has shown me the spiritual warfare going on in the world. God has told me when I first went through my spiritual awakening and I first started kind of going away from Christianity, he said, there's a spiritual warfare. So you can choose. You can choose any time to be in the darkness, in the world, choosing things that aren't necessarily in your best interest, or you can choose God. You can choose Source. You can choose Jesus Christ. And I think that's the point. But at the end of the day, your guardian angels will always be watching out for you, especially if you're watching this video. They always will be watching out for you, and God always wants to connect to you. He always wants to reach you, and the spiritual warfare is that you are not listening. The spiritual warfare is that this world wants to take your attention away from God, away from source, away from truth and what really matters. And you are a being with free will. So you can think you're on the right path all day long, and you can think you're doing all the right things, but if your life isn't aligning, then you have to start asking yourself, where am I? Like, where can I make a change? Where am I not being God-like in my life? When I decided to dedicate my life to Jesus, it took a little bit of time for me to really commit and make the change. And then things started aligning. And maybe someday I'll get into like exactly what has happened recently. I feel like I'm still processing a lot of it, to be honest. But as soon as I decided I want to live in God's purpose, I want to be a being of light. For real though, like for real. Things aligned perfectly. Getting this apartment aligned within like a week. Within a week I had this apartment. Like the money is just flowing in, you guys. The money is flowing in because I'm in alignment right now. I'm living the life that God actually intended. And I didn't realize that I wasn't living right. Part of that is I had to commit to stop drinking. Another part was committing to celibacy. Your sexual energy is your energy, and your spiritual energy is opened up with alcohol. And it's really those two things for me. Like, I felt like I needed to take a vow of sobriety for a little while because it was my way of dealing with stress. And as soon as I removed myself from a stressful environment, I no longer feel the desire to drink. What I'm saying is, if you've never given yourself the chance to push through your worldly desires, I highly recommend it, because it changed me. And maybe it's just like recognizing sort of what makes us human and either choosing to say, I'm gonna refrain from that today because I'm choosing to embody God for now. And don't get me wrong, you guys, I'm a Scorpio. I am run by my sexual energy, but there's something so empowering. And like, this is the thing, when I was young, when I was like 18, right? I thought the empowering thing was to do whatever I wanted sexually. But maybe it's just my age. I'm a little bit older now. I'm realizing the true empowerment comes from not giving away your energy to just anybody, to not just let that go willy-nilly. Willy-nilly, that's such a silly word to say, but that's what it is. And choosing to be on top of your own energy means in every way. And if you're not on top of your energy in every way, God has a harder time coming through to you. That's all it is. Like, there's so many distractions in this world. That's what the spiritual warfare is. It's distracting you from God. And it's not to say you can't have a deep and meaningful sexual connection with somebody, but is God there with you? Because that's the difference, I think. Same thing with alcohol. Alcohol opens you up to spirits. It opens you up to demons, which are very real. There are a lot of astral beings in this world, and I have worked with many of them. And the thing is I did not have the spiritual discernment. I thought, well, this being, this entity represents this specific part of life that I want, or you know, whatever, you know, there's different deities for different things and all that. But they all have their own intention. They all have their own self-interest at the end of the day. And the thing is that Jesus Christ does not have his own self-interest. His self-interest is connecting us with God, connecting us directly with God. And that's what it is. And so my point is you have the choice every day. Are you connecting with Jesus? Are you connecting with God? Are you connecting with your angels? Because if it's not those, then it's like your own spiritual discernment of if it's true. Is it true, or is there an entity latching onto you, keeping you down, keeping you away from God, keeping you stuck in old patterns and old habits and things you don't actually want to be doing, things that are keeping you away from your purpose that God has for you here. So when I was 18 and I chose to leave Christianity for a little bit, it was necessary. It was necessary for me to understand all of this, because if I had stayed Christian, if I had stayed going to church for the last 10 years, if I had stayed being narrow-minded in that way, I would not have the spiritual understanding that I have today. And now I don't know if I can call myself a Christian just because of all of that, but I'm excited to go to church this week with my family for Christmas. I'm excited to live every day with Jesus because that's what I've been doing. But I do feel like I have a direct connection with Jesus Christ. I have a direct channel in my heart for his message, his will on this earth, and I am ready to share it. Yeah. So if you guys made it this far, thank you so much. I love you so much and I appreciate you. And let me know in the comments if you've ever had a near-death experience and spoken to God, I guess.